Well, hi again. I'm back to talk about my brain tumor and what I did that first week when I received the diagnosis. So first of all, I would like to mention a few charities that really helped me those first few weeks. The number one I registered on was the Brain Tumor Trust, and after that I also registered on the Brain Tumor Charity website and the Astro Brain Tumor Fund. Plus, I found out about Maggie's, the Cancer Center. The most helpful charity for me after diagnosis was the Brain Tumor Trust that held a regular meeting at one of the pizza restaurants in central London, and I was very fortunate because that meeting took place 2 days after my diagnosis, so I quickly registered and went along on the Tuesday evening, and I had a great time there because I met a lot of other brain tumor sufferers. So basically I met another maybe 15-20 brain tumor sufferers. Some of them were already past their surgeries or others were just getting ready for it, and I shared with them that I received my diagnosis a couple of days earlier, and I was basically there for information and how to get on with my life. So they were all very friendly, especially some of those that have a bit more experience, like one of the guys that had his surgery 11 years ago and he was paralyzed, but then he learned to walk again and learned to talk and had to basically learn everything again. Or the other guy that had his surgery 38 years ago and he's still alive, doing fine. Although at the time I didn't have a clue what the differences were between one brain tumor and the other. So one thing that I will talk about in another episode will be these huge differences between one brain tumor and another brain tumor and where it is located in the brain. But at that time it was very reassuring to know that some people are still alive 3 or 4 decades after their surgery. So that was great. And then the following week I found online another charity called Maggie's that organised monthly meetings at Charing Cross Hospital in London for brain tumor sufferers. It's more like an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting where you sit in a circle in a room and then everybody shares their experiences. That was really great for me because that was just maybe 10 days after the initial diagnosis, and there I met some other brain tumor patients. But the problem with that is that it's a much broader spectrum of patients. Some of them have suffered more than others, and if you go there straight after diagnosis and you don't know this, then you might find that you are a bit like thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't have come along. But anyway, for me that was fine. I've been going along for about 6 months now, and I guess I had to realize that some people have suffered more than others, and that has put things into perspective because it's not all fun and games, to be honest, because there are a lot of people that just walk out of the operating room and then they go down the park 5 or 6 days later. But then there are others that have had to struggle and fight to regain their life that was before surgery. And in fact, I talked to some people that said that they wished they had never had the surgery. But then of course, if you don't have the surgery, then your tumor can turn into something much worse, and then you could also die because of that. So I guess it's a difficult decision to make. Either you don't go for the operation and then you might just live on normally because it's a low-grade tumor, or you might find that a few months later it turns into an aggressive type and then, well, you just die basically. So that's the hard truth. Or you go for the surgery and you might be lucky, they remove the bulk of it and then you live for a few more years happily without any problems, or the surgery goes wrong and then you will suffer. So there are a lot of things to consider. I'm not going to go into all that. It's up to everybody to decide and to talk to experts and surgeons and GPs and support groups and whatever else. There's quite a lot of support out there right now. But my experience was both of these charities were great, and then a few weeks later I stumbled upon another charity called the Astro Brain Tumor Fund that had on their website a list of travel insurance companies that insure people that suffer from brain tumors. Then I actually messaged them, and it turned out the lady that's the chairman of the charity lives not very far from me, so we met up for coffee one afternoon, and we are also meeting again next week, because it turns out that Maggie's is opening a new center here in my hometown, and we are going to visit that center next week. So I suppose things are going along fine for now. My surgery is gonna be in less than 3 weeks. I'm not really looking forward to it, but I guess I've made up my mind now. I'm not gonna change it, and well, I'm hoping for the best. In fact, my type of tumor, which is an oligodendroglioma, a low-grade, slow-growing tumor at the front of my forehead, could turn into an aggressive type anytime. So right now I'm thinking I just want to get it out straight away, because I'm not happy to wait for it to transform. But then some people told me that I should wait and just enjoy life. But my thinking is, how could I enjoy life when I know there's a ticking time bomb in my head? So let's just get it out, and then I'll deal with the issues that might arise or might not after the surgery. But I guess I've got to this point 6 months after the diagnosis, and I'm quite happy with my decision. Hopefully I will still be happy in 4 weeks time, but I guess I will only know that after surgery. So yes, there were a couple of other things I wanted to talk about, one of which was losing my driver's license, because they told me on the day of my diagnosis that I won't be allowed to drive, because with a brain tumor you can pass out anytime, and you wouldn't want to be driving on the motorway at 70 miles an hour and then have a blackout, because that would definitely be fatal. I suppose begrudgingly I decided I wouldn't drive again. I left my car in the garage for the past 5 or 6 months, but then 2 weeks ago I managed to sell it, because I made up my mind that I would sell it, no point keeping it, and that was probably the most difficult decision I had to make because of this brain tumor, because I love driving, and my other blog called Solaris Traveler is pretty much based on road trips and traveling. So now without a car it's gonna be a lot more complicated to go on my trips, but anyway, I like traveling by train and bus and all these various public transport modes, so it's not that big a deal. And anyway, I only had that car for 5 years, so before that I was taking buses and trains and trams and all sorts and cycling, so it's not the end of the world, but it was a tough decision to make. And when I sold the car, I sold it back to the guy that I bought it from at half the price I paid for it, and I wonder how much he has sold it for. Plus, I was really annoyed at the time, because 2 days before I went to have my first MRI, I filled up the tank for £50, and I had to give it away in the car when I sold it, and he didn't give me anything extra for it. So basically, don't fill up your car before you go for an MRI, because you might find that you will never drive it again and you've just lost £50. Anyway, that's just me being stingy. And other thing I wanted to mention was getting travel insurance after your diagnosis. You can say goodbye to any travel insurance, because nobody will ever insure you with a brain tumor unless it has been removed or you are not receiving any further treatment. Either you decide with your doctor that you will be on a wait and watch procedure, or whatever you want to call it, when you don't do anything and then you go in for an MRI every 6 months to monitor the growth of the tumor, or you decide to have surgery, but then the moment you tell the travel insurance company that you are waiting for surgery and the surgery will be in 3 months' time, nobody will ever insure you. So either talk to your doctor and then decide when to have your surgery and don't book any trips before your surgery, or if you book any trips before your surgery, then tough luck, you are just not going to get any insurance unless you manage to find a travel insurance company that will provide an exclusion. So basically they will insure 95% of things except anything related to the brain tumors. Now clearly that's not ideal in case you have a seizure or something else and then you trip over, you break your arm, then they'll blame it on your brain tumor. So it's a big risk. I guess I took it because I got my diagnosis in February, and then I've been to Florida twice since. I've also gone to France, Thailand, Japan, Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary. So I've traveled around, and the biggest risk was going to Japan because I had to buy travel insurance with an exclusion that didn't include the brain tumor related problems. But I was pretty certain nothing would happen to me, and even if I had a blackout or anything, I would be fine the next day. So I was willing to take that risk, and in the end I paid only £38 for the 2-week single trip insurance versus all clear travels £1,860 for 2 weeks, all inclusive. I thought my holiday wasn't going to cost that much as the insurance, so I just thought I'm not going to pay that much. I would rather travel without insurance and take the risk. But then finally, one day before I was about to depart to Tokyo, I phoned up Aviva, which is the underwriter for HSBC's premier travel insurance credit card. The lady on the phone told me, no, unfortunately we cannot insure you, but if you are happy, then we can give you insurance that will exclude the brain tumor. So I did that. I was fine. I went to Japan, nothing happened. I came home. 2 weeks later I went to Thailand, but that was a work trip, so that was covered by work. And then I was in Greece, Bulgaria and the Balkans, but that's part of the European Union, so any emergency treatment would have been part of that. Okay, well, I'm not going to be rambling on any longer, but the next time I will talk a little bit more about these Facebook chat groups that help you with information, and you can talk to people there, ask questions and whatever you want. And I will also share my positive and negative experiences about that. So I suppose all these Facebook groups are a bit like a double-edged sword. It can help, but it can also be harmful, so you need to be careful. But more about that in the next episode. Well, thanks for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe to receive the latest updates about my upcoming episodes.